Hey folks, welcome back to Mears Lab. In today's video, we are going to fix the output socket on this 7-string Jackson electric guitar because it is broken. We are gonna have to crack it open all the way over here, way back down there, take that out, and then we're gonna have to open it up and fire up the soldering iron, get some solder going on in there, and fix it up so that we can start playing our awesome brown-eyed girl riffs again. So if that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. Let's get started. Before we can get started, we got to gather up all of our tools. So let's do that now. First thing we're going to get here is a nice Phillips screwdriver. Then we're going to need to get some solder right here. I've got this MG Chemicals 60/40 solder. That means that it's 60% silver and 40% lead. I figure it's actually pretty safe to use lead-based solder as long as I wash my hands afterwards and don't stick it in my mouth or lick it or anything like that. Always a good idea to have your Staedtler Norica 13246 HB number 2 pencil at handy. Pencils really are great for a lot of things, you know, writing and pointing and all kinds of stuff like that. Got our helping hands here to grab some stuff just in case we need to grab something or pinch something, and yeah, just in case we need a pair of helping hands, you know, that sort of thing. Cup of coffee, you know, gotta have yourself a cup of coffee. And of course we got the old Mears box of tools here. Let's see what we got in here. Ooh, probably gonna pull out these Exolite 170M little pliers here. And what else we got in here? I don't think we need to use our Victorinox Les Stroud autographed Swiss Army knife or our miniature GHS calipers just yet. I think that's probably pretty good for the Mears box. Oh yeah, we almost forgot the soldering iron. Well, here's the one that I'm going to use, or at least part of it right here. Let's have a look at the rest of it now. Here's the soldering station that I'm going to be using for today's video. It's a Heiko FX951. Let's flick it on here. Just takes a few moments for it to heat up. You can see there's the temperature gauge. It's reading in Fahrenheit, and right now it's set to 750 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's sort of my all-around general temperature that I like to use for pretty much anything. And it's going to work great for fixing up this Jackson guitar here today. Okay, let's get this stuff out of the way here, and let's get the guitar on the bench. There we go. Okay, first thing that we want to do is, of course, we gotta crack this open here. We're gonna do that with our Fuller number 2 Phillips screwdriver right here. Okay, so let's get right into that here now. Okay, here we go. Let's get a good angle there. Oh yeah, look at that. That's beautiful. Oh yeah, this is actually a pretty awkward angle here, folks, but you know, I think that it's just gonna work fine. So we're just gonna carefully take these screws out. Whoa, whoa, my chair's rolling away. That's what you get for living in a house that's 105 years old. The floors are a little squirrely. Here we go. Okay, so now I've got my guitar in a bear hug grip, so I won't roll across the floor anymore, and we'll just kind of unscrew that and kind of hope that the camera focuses at the same time. There we go. There we go. Oh, look at this. This is working out really great now. Okay, good. Okay, let's get that screw out of there. Okay, so there we go. Now we can open up the output socket assembly here, and we can have a look at those wires. And oh darn, we've got a problem here. Oh shoot, it's not actually broken. Hold on just 1 second here, folks, okay? I'll be right back. There, that's better. Now it's broken. So now you can see, folks, that after we took the output socket out, that wire is broken on it, and unfortunately that's the ground wire right there too. You can see how it's this black one. Now it might be a different color on your guitar, but the way you can tell it's the ground is it's the one that's connected right here. Oh boy, let's get the old Staedtler Norica out here. You can see that you see that wire was connected right here to this part, and you can see how the metal is connected to what's called this like outer sort of sleeve right here, and that's the part that connects to the sleeve on your guitar cable plug thingy. Yeah, you got yourself one of these plugs right here, and you stick that in there. And you can see how this sort of sleeve part right here, see how that sort of touches that? Well, that's the ground part of your signal. And unfortunately, it's broken right now. Darn, we got to get that soldered back on there, okay? And hey, you know, while we're at it though, this other wire, you can see it's connected here, and then it's sort of isolated from that metal part right here that's connected to the sleeve, and it's isolated by these brown things that are called wafers here. And that white wire, well, that goes through all of this other metal stuff and then up this big metal part here, and then that hits the tip here. And you know what? That's what this is actually called. This is called a tip right here. So that would be called the tip and the sleeve. So that's the part that carries the signal, which is the tip, and the sleeve carries the ground. That's the part that gets rid of all the noise. Cool. So let's get this all fixed up here. The way that we're going to do that is we need to first remove a little bit of this plastic jacket right here, the sheathing, and so we can expose the wire on the inside. Let's grab a sharp knife and do that now. So you want to be real careful, of course, and all you're going to do is you're going to sort of push in a little bit here to cut through the outside sleeve, but you want to be real careful that you don't push through so hard that you're going to cut through the thin little metal wires that are on the inside. You want to keep those intact, okay? And if you're wondering how much to cut off, well, I suggest that you cut off no more than 1/4 of an inch. No less than like 1/8 of an inch though. So I'm just going to go with about 1/4 of an inch here, and I'm just going to push it down, and I'm not going to worry about cutting it all the way around. I'm just going to cut through a little bit, and then I sort of like sort of pull it to the side like that, like sort of push like that, and then I can get the rest of it there, and I can just pull that off. And I cut through 1 or 2 little wires, but you know what? That's fine, folks. It's not going to ruin anything at all whatsoever. It's still going to sound great. So there we go. Now let's just twist that up into sort of like a tornado. There we go. Look at that. That looks really nice, neat and tidy now. Okay, folks, now we're getting real close to solder time. What we want to do next, clean up the solder that's right here on this tab. We're going to melt that down so that we can get this black wire and loop it back through that hole, and then we'll reapply some new fresh solder to it. All right, let's remove this plug right here. Hold that like that. Let's just take a moment here to talk about soldering, okay? Let's just zoom out while we do this. After your soldering iron comes up to temperature, and if you're using one of those pen type soldering irons, you want to plug it in and let it warm up for about 5 minutes, or at least 5 minutes, and you know, it might not even hurt to wait a good solid 10. You want to make sure that it is fully up to temperature, okay? And the way that you know that it is fully up to temperature is your soldering iron will be able to melt solder, like this right here. See? I can hold that up to there and it will melt it. Okay, let's get a close-up view there. Right here. I can melt that solder really nice and easily. There we go. Cool, eh? And you see how the tip of the iron looks nice and shiny right now? I mean, it's got way too much solder on it, but you see how it's nice and shiny? Well, that's really important. You always want the tip of your iron to look nice and shiny like that. The reason that's important, people refer that as you're wetting your tip. You're keeping it wet, and that just means that it's going to transfer heat very efficiently, and that means that you'll be able to solder really quick and fast. And that's one of the tips about how to make really good, strong, solid solder connections, is you do your work fast. Another tip while you're soldering is you always want to keep your soldering tip literally clean at all times and wetted, okay? So that means every time you're finished using it, you're gonna clean it off on a wet sponge or a scouring pad or whatever it is that you have to keep your soldering iron clean, and then you're just gonna put a little bit of solder on the end of it after that, and that's just gonna keep the end of your iron wetted, and it's gonna mean that it's gonna keep it from oxidizing and make it last a long time and work really well. So there we go. Our tip is all wetted now and properly cleaned. So what we want to do here is we're just going to hold it on there. And, oh yeah, hopefully you guys can see that all right. And we're just sort of going to wet it a little bit, and we're just pushing it off to the side right now. You see, in a perfect world, we would have a desoldering tool. And it would suck all of the solder right out of there. But you know what, I don't really want to use one of those today because we want to just kind of keep this simple and show you folks that you don't really need to have a bunch of fancy tools to do this sort of stuff. All you got to do is just have a couple of tools, okay? So there we go. Almost got all that solder off of there now. And we can kind of blow on it a little bit to get all that solder out of the way as well too. So I'm going to do that now, all right? Get it all hot and melted, and then we're just going to go. Okay, you want to be careful when you're doing that you're not going to blow hot solder on your guitar. But now, you've got that nice and cleaned up. It turned out pretty good. Now we want to take this black wire and we're going to really carefully put it through this hole, like this. There we go. And then we're just going to really carefully bend that wire off to the side, like that sort of thing, okay? And what I'm going to do to make sure that that's nice and clean is I'm just going to use my Staedtler Norco 13246 HP number 2 pencil here. And I'm just going to push all these little wires to the side just to make sure that everything's nice and clean. Really. There we go, okay? It doesn't really matter the angle that the wire comes off too much because you can bend the wire a little bit afterwards just to get the angle right. But for now, we just kind of want it on there like that. Let's put some solder on here, folks. Okay, so I'm just cleaning my tip right now. You can't see it on camera, but I'm cleaning it. Now I'm going to apply some fresh solder right here like this. Okay, now I'm going to hold the tip right on here, and I'm going to tap the tip with the solder first, just to get a little bit of solder to flow onto the joint, and then I'm going to, while I'm holding the tip on the metal to apply heat, then I'm going to take the solder and I'm going to actually put it on, not on the tip of the soldering iron, I'm going to apply it to the joint itself. And you see, because the heat is flowing from the tip through the wetted tip onto the tab, it's heating up the metal tab so hot that the metal tab itself will melt the solder. And that's what you want, because that means that the solder is going to flow evenly into all of the little nooks and crannies and everything like that. So here we go. Let's just put a bunch of it on there until we've got a nice little wetted pile, okay? The trick to soldering is you need to commit. That's sort of like the whole idea behind it, is you just need to commit whenever you solder. You can't be going in there like and tidying it up a little bit afterwards and going in and all that sort of stuff and then like undoing it and redoing it and all that. No, you just gotta do your best to get it right the first time. Get in there, get it done right, and get it done fast, and then get out. And that's how you get these really nice shiny soldering tips whenever you finish. So here we go. That's what it looks like when we're finished. So let's get a real good look at that. You can see how it's nice and shiny and rounded like that, and how all the solder is sort of nicely and evenly flowed into all of the little nooks and crannies here. That's exactly what we want, because we have a really solid electrical connection right in here. Okay, and now all we got to do is we're just going to take this black wire and we're just going to make sure that it can just fold up nicely like that, and the same as this white one right here too. And what we want to do is we just want to make sure that there's lots of clearance for whenever we plug in this plug here. And you just want to make sure that none of these wires that we've got here, like the white one or the black one, are going to touch any part of this plug right here. And what I see sometimes is you see those little like wiry strands here. Well, sometimes there's like a stray little loose one, and sometimes that accidentally rubs up against something in here, and then that can cause a short circuit, and that can sort of ruin your tone and make your guitar sound quiet and dull and dead and all that sort of bad stuff that we don't want. But all you got to do to make sure that's not going to happen is just make sure that there's no little stray little wires hanging off, and you'll be just fine. And I can see that this one looks really nice and neat and tidy. So I think this is going to work really well, folks. And it's a good thing we checked on this one. Yeah, because it was really badly broken there, you know. I'm glad we were able to get it all fixed up again. That's that. We got that all soldered now. So let's put that carefully back in here and just push those wires in. There we go. And we're going to take our screws, and we'll just carefully fire those back in here. And a quick little tip for you folks at home, whenever you're putting screws in, if you want to make sure that they're not cross-threaded, here's how you do it. Is you're just going to put the tip of the screw in the hole, and then you're going to turn it counterclockwise. You're going to turn it backwards for a turn or two until you can kind of feel the very first tooth on the screw sort of slip into the thread in the hole. And it's almost like a little bump you feel or something, like a little gap or a little step. Here we go. There it is. It just fell in. And then you start turning clockwise. And you'll find that it perfectly lines up the threads every single time. Okay, and then we're going to screw it in almost all the way, but not quite, okay? And the reason we are going to do that is in case it's not perfectly lined up, these holes here, almost put the screws in all the way so that the plate still moves around a little bit here. You can see it's still just a little bit loose. And then we can make sure that the next screw is perfectly lined up as well. Okay, so now once they're both almost all the way in, now we can put them in the rest of the way. So here we go. Let's do that now. These are the ones you got to be really careful about here, folks. You want to make sure that you don't strip these. Okay, and here we go. Just nice and finger tight is all we want. Well, there you have it, folks. We have successfully fixed the output socket on this 7-string Jackson electric guitar that was broken, and now we can get back to playing Brown Eyed Girl like we've been wanting to do all along here. I can't even play the riff. Well, folks, it's time to wrap up this episode where we fixed up the broken output jack on this Jackson 7-string electric guitar and pulled out our soldering iron to do it. If you enjoyed it, well, you can click the like button. And if you'd like to see more content like this, you can subscribe to the Mears Lab channel because I've got all kinds of cool stuff like this and more coming up. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you next time.